Facebook feed the other day, I those who follow me, I put I'm going to shave my head, and gosh, I didn't realize my hair is community hair.
We're live, y'all. Just so you know, we're live.
Okay, good to know.
That's
a great way to start, Tony.
Good hair tips work, and it's all good.
That's right. Good to know. Community hair.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our audience and welcome to our guests today. I'm really excited. Thank you to Ravi and to Adrian for having me come in to be able to kick this off. Today, we're going to be announcing the launch of the multifamily community on PropTechBuzz. And so for today, I'm actually going to share my screen right now. And one of the cool things is you're going to have the opportunity to ask questions live of our audience. Adrian Danila will be moderating the guests and our discussion, but you'll be able to also tap in your questions live. So I'm going to share my screen here just to show you how you can do it. So if you go to PropTechBuzz.com, you'll see on the main page here some different options. And if you scroll down into the multifamily option here from the categories or communities, you can actually find the different chats and discussions going on. You can create a new discussion topic if you want to. So if you wanted to start talking about a question you have or a topic or something that you want to bring up, feel free to do that here and you can post in a new topic. But you can also search for existing ones. So like today's channel, you can go in and share where you're at. And as you see on the screen here, we have Sharon who just posted hello, and we'll actually share those on the screen today. So hello, Steve. Welcome for coming from Richmond. It'll show you in here. You can share a lot of this publicly and you can share it within the community. And then there's opportunities as well in the community to be anonymous. So sometimes you want to post something, but you don't want to share it openly, or you have a question you may not want to share. So that's what's pretty cool. So one of the other things that I really like about PropTechBuzz is that they are allowing people to stream. And that for Adrian and I, obviously for our weekly podcast, that's really exciting to be able to stream, whether it's on YouTube or LinkedIn Live, but also do it through here and then have a way for people to chat and engage and then put it out to other platforms. So today we're live streaming here, but you're also able to live stream on LinkedIn or live stream on other platforms. And I'm very excited about that. So again, you can see some of the different discussion topics from current trends in multifamily, and Robbie and the team are building all types of cool tips and tricks here. So without further ado, I'm going to pop on over now to do the intro. So I'll stop sharing this. Give me 1 second. All right, stop screen share. And then we'll hop into the discussion with our esteemed guests. So first off, I want to do a little intro. And many people already know Adrian Danila, but Adrian is all types of experience in the industry, from ownership, management, companies, but especially deep on maintenance. But he's also done a great job of building a strong community on LinkedIn. I think Adrian's now, you worked at over 7 or 8 different management companies through your career. You've been in the industry over 20 years. So I think you started when you were about 10 years old, fixing things and working your way all the way up to a senior level position. And he's just one of the most authentic and helpful people I've gotten to know in this industry. So without further ado, I want to pass the mic to Adrian. And maybe Adrian, you're doing Multifamily X Media. You're doing the Multifamily Hangout. What are some of the other podcasts you're doing?
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for the warm intro. Going to answer your question about the media and the podcast, right? So it's the Multifamily Hangout, Multifamily X, which for right now we're doing a maintenance-specific, facility-specific podcast. We're about to launch, and this is breaking news. We're about to launch a tech-related podcast within Multifamily X. We're working on that. That's gonna be a very exciting project for Chris and I both. And then we also have Multifamily Chronicles. That's my oldest podcast. It's 3 years old almost right now, and going on 120 plus episodes. I'm so excited to be here, to have you all here today. I'm super grateful for you guys taking the time and just being here to celebrate launching this community on PropTechBuzz. what we want to do and accomplish here with this community is to build real community with no ulterior motives, really building it the way you want it to be built. For that reason, I wanted to bring on a panel people that are representative for PropTech from the PropTech space and people that are representative of community in multifamily, right? So we have both categories right here, very well represented at the very, very top. I'm going to start with the most interesting person in multifamily, Tony Souza. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, AD. I'm incredibly grateful to be a part of this esteemed group of both colleagues and friends, and thanks for having me.
Tony, I'm going to start by asking you, what are some very cool projects, interesting projects that you're working on currently in multifamily? And what are some things that you see for us as an industry to accomplish in the near future? Like, what are some great things coming up, trends?
Yeah, well, you know me. I don't like to work on any fun projects or any cool projects. So just kidding. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that are happening in the industry, which we're really excited about. Obviously, here at RPM, there's always something that's happening as well. But I think, really to answer your question, I think surrounding today and this community, I think what I'm most excited about, and I think what the people hopefully that are joining us today, and I know the panel here really believe as well. I think this is an exciting time in multifamily that I think both operators, owners, clients, prop technology experts, all coming together to really, I think, start to lean in a bit more than in the years past to really help one another find solutions to really sort of some old age problems and challenges that we face here on the ground. I happen to be actually at a property today, spending time on the ground, what I call a day in the life of a leasing consultant. And so, that's really important, I think, for us operators to really understand kind of what it is day to day that happens down here so that we can have better conversations with our technology experts in this space that are on this call as well. And I know joining us to really know, what we need and what do our residents expect and what do our employees need at their fingertips? What kind of information, what kind of data that can be very actionable for them to take the appropriate actions to serve the life of their residents better, or ultimately leaders in our industry that can serve their employees better with the introduction of technology and dashboards and all different sorts of things. So that's what I'm most excited about. There's always something cool that I'm working on. So most of the time it's on the down low until it comes out, and that's when it'll be out. But there's a lot of fun stuff always in the pipeline, and collabing with people like everyone here on this panel and a few others off the panel. But yeah, always a lot of fun stuff happening in multifamily. 24, Q4, and 25 are going to be a fun year.
Thanks, Tony. Savannah Wheeler, CEO, Apartment Snapshot. Welcome, Savannah.
Hey, Adrian, I'm so pumped to be here. This is exciting. What a great opportunity and conversation.
Very glad that you're here. And I want to start by asking the same question I asked Tony. What are some great projects that you're working on? And what are some great things that you see happening in the industry in general that get you excited currently?
As a PropTech CEO, we're working on lots of projects over here from a technology standpoint. And I think community is really important to us because our product is based in community engagement and getting employees engaged in their performance, but also pumping each other up and cheerleading. And so cheerleading is definitely, I was never a cheerleader, but I am a cheerleader at heart. I love to cheer people on and see people succeed. So that's what I'm all about. And I think recently, I am a people person. I like to be in real life and talk to people and communicate with people in real life. And so going to a bunch of events and stuff like that, specifically local and intimate events that are really based in not like a sales capacity, like the big conferences and stuff like that, but really based in having real conversations with real people. And, my friend Irving, that people probably know, him and I have been collaborating a lot and trying to get some local events and some fun things going on in the Denver community. kind of modeling after you guys in the Southeast, do a really great job of getting your local communities together in the multifamily industry. And so we're trying to do that kind of in the mountain states and try to get that same sort of community going. So I'm really pumped about that too. I think that, you know, I'm new to the supplier side. I've been on the, you know, operator side, and not even an operator. I was the back office support. So feeling connected to the industry is new to me, and it's really exciting. And I think that I've been very humbled by the amount of support that people have shown us and the friends that I've been able to make very quickly in the industry. So I think to piggyback on what Tony said, I think it's really moving quickly into a network of support and people pumping each other up and helping each other out. And how can I help is a question that I get so often. And I'm asking people too, how can I help? I think that's a really great direction our industry is going.
Yeah, that's a great, it's a great line. How can I help? Because that's exactly why we're here with PropTechBuzz. We want to ask all of you, community builders, tech builders, how can we help? Next, I'm gonna go to another community builder, Tara Samuels. Welcome, Tara.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing great, Tara. Same question for you. What are some great projects that you're excited about that you're working on currently, and what are some great things that you're excited about happening in the industry currently?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm crossing my fingers that I make it through with the connection because I'm in the car driving. So one of the things that I continue to work on is building a community for mentorship. So there is such a need. There has always been a need for mentorship. So I pour my heart and soul every day into multifamily mentor matchmaking. And that is something that no matter how old we get in our job or in the industry, we need it. And so one thing that we're starting to talk more about is the idea of silent mentorship. So those of us who are very visible on LinkedIn, how are we making an impact by just doing our day-to-day posting on LinkedIn? How is that impacting others and inspiring others? So that is obviously something I'm very passionate about. And I'm actually ironically just coming back from an industry conference. What gets me really excited is that I'm starting to hear, kind of to Savannah's point of how can I help, I'm noticing a trend of suppliers and owner managers coming together. It's not so siloed anymore, which is fantastic, because it used to be, oh gosh, you're a supplier, almost like we were not welcome to the table. And so I'm seeing the walls come down. There's a lot more collaboration, and it's really, how can I help? Like what Savannah said, it was a great kind of way to say it, is we're all trying to be a resource, and the judgment is kind of being removed when you need some advice on best practices or tips on anything. It's really become more of a community in that regard in the in-person networking. So just fresh off the heels of seeing that, so I'm excited about that.
Tara, I just wanted to tell everybody that you went out of your way to just be present here, because you're traveling back from the event just to be here. So you're in your car right now driving back to Atlanta. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Next, Sean Landsberg. Welcome, Sean.
Hey, Adrian. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I heard a new nickname for you recently, AD. So I'm going to start going by. I hope you don't mind. We're going to start calling you AD from now on. Thanks, Tony.
Not at all. Just to tell everybody that might not know Sean, he's a co-founder and a CEO of AppWork, a great piece of technology geared towards maintenance in multifamily space. Sean, why don't you share with us what are some great things that you have going on at AppWork that get you excited, and what are some things that you see industry-wise that get you excited about what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, one of the reasons why we created AppWork, and again, similar to Savannah, I come from the operator side. We created AppWork as an operator and eventually brought it to market. But one of the I guess the pain points that we had was really the disconnect, or call it lack of community, that we had on the maintenance side in the industry, and trying to, so to speak, bring maintenance together, help and bridge that gap, bridge that divide. And I think that's kind of a big foundational part of Outwork, and I think that's a big thing that we're working on, which is one of the reasons why I think in general we very much like community. And I think community could be equally beneficial to all the stakeholders, whether it be operators, vendors, and then even within operators, right? Within management companies, whether it be in the back office side, the maintenance side, the leasing office side, and all the things like that.
Thank you. Joe Summers, you're next, sir. Chief Revenue Officer at Gatewise. Have you announced your new title officially? Or it was just kind of like unofficial?
I worked with their team for, I don't know, a year and a half before, the CEO, who it's a bootstrap company, which was a big difference. Don't have to deal with the VCs like Moreno and stuff like that breathing down your neck. So, great company, great technology. I'm involved in several companies. I'm the luxury of being in the industry almost 26 years. Heck, when I started in '99, technology was a fax machine and an ashtray in the leasing office. You know what I'm saying? So, I've been. Look, I always say I'm very lucky in my career, but hard work creates luck, right? And I don't want to reiterate a lot of the things that everyone else already said, but what I will say is, I cut my teeth in sales for the first 5-6 years of my career in an atmosphere where there was no technology, there was no Salesforce. We did everything out of spreadsheets, just like the properties did. And what's been really amazing is to watch the transformation of our industry over the past 25 years. And we have an opposite problem now, in my opinion. There's so many great technologies and so many things that are ahead of the curve, that some of them are ahead of where the industry actually is ready for, which is amazing to watch. But I spend a lot of my time sifting through some of the noise, because I think our industry is having a hard time keeping up with the oversaturation of technology, which is the opposite problem that we had, right? So, like I said, I'm the fortunate that I'm an old person in this space now, and as I'm reaching the end of the day-to-day full time in this industry, my main focus is to just be humble and help anyone I can to make connections and to really help close the gap between the known and the unknown. And I don't care if I love Tara knows my feelings on this. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. No one's better than anyone else. We put our pants on the same way every day. And I've never put anybody on a pedestal, which is why I think I have great relationships, because I am that way. But one thing I always say, people come to me and say, hey, what do I have to do to be successful? And, unfortunately, a lot of those people hear the normal things like, work really hard and do things smarter, not harder. But the real truth of it is do more than your job description states. Go above and beyond. You have more resources at your fingertips than you've ever had. You could be more involved than you ever could be. I let Tony and Moreno and Wolber and, I can keep naming some really good thought leaders in our space. Most of the people on this call that I follow regularly, you have full access to these people. If you're not taking advantage of that, then you're wrong. You know what I mean? So you got to put the work in to get lucky. And that's kind of my big message today when it comes to technology in general. Technology only solves the problems if you work hard on making sure that you're using it the right way. So
Joe,
sorry for my soapbox, Adrian.
No. That's great. Joe, what are some great things that you have going on at Gatewise? Would you share with us?
Yeah, sure. Gatewise in particular. I mean, like, here's why Gatewise is such a great company, and why I kind of fell in love with the CEO. I literally, 3 or 4 years ago, I was on a long weekend down in the Keys, and my phone rang, and it was a number I didn't know, and I never answer those actually because of spam. And this Israeli guy was talking to me saying, "Joe, I was told I had to call you," and I'm like, "Who is this?" Anyways. you know, bootstrap company, he did a great job, but his whole purpose was to give access control to B and C communities, not focusing on the Ultra A that has unlimited budgets, but B and C communities. He established his own supply chain. So the hardware and software is all built by Gatewise, so we never had a shortage during COVID. 2-week install during like all of those things. He did all the right steps, and me working with them, he was really open to take the company to the next level. We put some great salespeople in place. We're still looking to put a couple more in. But now we're launching. We're in beta with smart AI cameras that detect, like basically if police pull up, it automatically open gates. I mean, pets, people with backpacks after 10 p.m., stuff like that. We're launching that kind of technology, and unit locks coming up too. And again, we're not there trying to compete with the people looking at the Ultra A. We're there trying to give amenities to the residents and staff of B and C communities that never had access to that affordable, great technology. So yeah, I could talk. I'm involved in several. I got my hands in several companies, either on their advisory board or board of directors. So I've actually been very selective as I've gotten deeper in my career, and I'm really trying to pick products. I'll mention one, Demi. You know, Demi is a technology composting company, and now more mandated markets are popping up. There's no one doing what they're doing in our space, and it's very interesting. And stuff like that, I've always wanted to give back to the industry. So things like that, I've started getting more involved in too. So, but Adrian, I could keep going on and on about some of the things, but I try and keep a lower profile publicly, but get engaged when asked, basically.
Thank you, Joe. Next community, and I'm gonna go again back around the table and ask you what are your feelings and thoughts about community. What's the type of ideal community that you would like to see in a multifamily space? So I'm going back to you, Tony, and the question is, what do you think are the key elements of an ideal community that brings together developers, investors, operators, and suppliers, basically all the stakeholders in a multifamily?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I think cultivating the community initially to make sure that it's there's not an agenda. I think that's going to be key for individuals that engage in a community to feel safe, to feel comfortable asking questions that they may otherwise wouldn't ask in a less safe environment. When I mean safe, it's not obviously criminal activity. What I mean by that is obviously it's a place where there's no judgment or minimal judgment, and there's not individuals out there looking to just make a quick buck or make a quick sale. It's a genuine relationship build, and I think obviously speaking on the operator side, I think that's a really important element to a community, is to feel that you can engage with experts and supply partners. To ask dumb questions and maybe even ask questions that you're not ready to make purchasing decisions on now, but also at the same time not feel as though you have the pressure to make those buying decisions now as well. And sometimes you are. And I think everybody on this call, especially on the supplier side, knows those purchasing decisions or those decisions come really when sometimes you least expect it. Not from the operator side, but I'm sure from the supplier side, you get that call out of the blue to say we're ready to go. And it's predicated on all this sort of foundational build of this community build over time. It could be weeks, it could be months. Everybody on this call, I think, has put in the time, the effort to build that community in their own network in the most authentic way. And it pays in dividends, and not specifically in money, but in relationships. And as they say, your net worth is your net worth, right? So I think that's going to be really important here, that people are coming to this community with no sort of hidden agendas other than just to provide value to one another, build relationships. And I think that's what's going to be important for you and your team, Adrian, is to, I don't even like the word of sort of community police or community monitor, but just to make sure that everybody is well-intentioned, the ground rules are set. And if you do a good job of that and people do ultimately feel comfortable in that environment, relationships will be built, and everybody on this call knows when relationships are built, oftentimes business is made. and buying decisions are taken. So I think that's what's most important. I see it, we see it in different platforms. We see it on LinkedIn as well. I think there's a greater audience that just wants genuine community without feeling pressure to do something initially. And I think if we can cultivate that type of community here, it's going to be a robust and very, very, very successful community.
Very great points, Tony, and very well taken. People do business with people they like and they know. First of all, they know and they like easier. I want to go to the PropTech side and ask Sean the same question now. What do you think are the key elements for an ideal community that brings together all the stakeholders?
Yeah, I think I'd kind of continue Tony's point. I think Tony, laid a very important part of the foundation there of it being a more relationship-based community than a sales-based community. And I think in order for that to happen, there has to be an equal balance of stakeholders participating in the community. I think a lot of times, especially on the vendor side, I see people trying to create communities, and then it ends up just being oversaturated by vendors. And then somebody asks a question, and then they get attacked by 20 vendors. And I don't think that's, I think it's important that it's a well-balanced, community to achieve what Tony's point was, where it's not a sales-driven community. And especially for a company like ours, where we rely heavily on community, on relationships for our growth. And I think it's a very relationship-driven industry on the PropTech side. You think we're in a place where, so to speak, the best product wins. But I think a lot of it, in a very interesting way, it's still very relationship driven. And I think that's what's really important. And I think that's what's going to ultimately benefit all stakeholders involved. I think if it becomes a sales-driven community, I don't think, companies even like us who rely on communities like that are going to have the benefit or the impact that we would want it to have.
Back to one of the best community builders in a space, Tara, the same question. What are the key elements of an ideal community that brings together the stakeholders in the industry? I think you're muted.
She may also not have heard the question potentially.
Yeah, internet may have gone out in the road. So, but yeah, maybe we'll go back to her in a sec.
I know she's muted. We'll come back to Tara in a second. Savannah?
Well, first I gotta say hi to my friend Steve. Thanks for the shout out, Steve. But yeah, I agree with both Tony and Sean. I think diverse perspective and bringing a lot of people to the table from different positions. I think a lot of times, even as a PropTech specifically, I know there's a lot of vendors out there who have the opportunity to speak with the properties a lot more, but selling a product like mine, I'm talking to higher level decision makers all of the time. And no offense to them, but really, if you're going to solve a problem for people on site, instead of I don't like when we're constantly trying to tell you the problem that we're trying to solve. I want to ask, what is the problem that you're looking for us to solve? And it's not always the top level executives who are more inclined to maybe participate in a community like that and express the problems that their company has. But having the people who are actually experiencing the problem be part of the conversation and express the problems that they're having from a real experience that they had, telling stories of, this is a problem I had at this time. This is why it caused me, a headache. This is why I left my job, because this technology didn't work or it was hard. And so I think, like Sean was saying, having more people from different layers is really important to have a fruitful conversation and to talk about problem solving, not talk about sales, not talk about, oh, we can solve this problem with this tool, with that tool, like really, what does it take to solve that problem? And we all have experiences in our careers and from multiple jobs that we've had, multiple hats that we've had, and what kind of, you never know who might have that solution. It might not be the person you expect, and so having that open forum of communication and being able to have a safe space, I believe, like Tony said, where you don't feel like any question is a stupid question, but that, you can build those relationships, but also maybe take stuff offline. I'm a big relationship builder, and I'm not always comfortable building in big masses, but I make one-on-one connections with people. And so sometimes when someone chimes in, oh, have you tried this? I like to take it offline and be like, tell me more about that, and maybe we should jump on a call and chat about that, and build a partnership in a relationship like that. So I think that ability to take things offline sometimes is a great way to deepen your connection with people.
I think we have Tara back. Can you hear us well, Tara?
I can. Did you call on me and I didn't hear you?
I did, but that's okay.
I
So
love it.
the question was, what do you think are the key elements of an ideal community that brings together all the stakeholders in the industry?
Well, I think what I was able to capture from everyone else before I got kicked off the call is it sounds like we're still speaking about ditching your pitch, being human. And so one of the things, it's just serendipitous that I'm coming off of this conference because I just had a few days of real live networking and got to hear, from the people who spend a lot of money to come to these conferences about some of the things that they're missing. And I want to call out an individual who I was talking to who really said it best. She had asked me, just a little bit about me, and I had asked her, like, hey, what are you noticing is missing in our industry? And she's like, well, at events like this, people just want to hand you their card or they point to the logo on their shirt, but nobody's really talking. They're pitching. And she's like, I'm just so exhausted from hearing pitching. There's pitch slapping that everybody jokes about, but no one's really getting to know the core person. So yes, Joe works at Gatewise, but there's more to Joe than Gatewise, right? So she was kind of making that, she's like, I don't want people to look at me at where I work. I want them to know how I think, what makes me tick, because eventually if I need your product and we have already built a connection, you'll be one of those trusted people because you took the time. I always joke that networking takes work. The word work is right in the word. But I think just hearing from someone on the side, she just was like, listen, I don't mind giving you my business, but I want you to work a little bit. But also to Tony's point, like, let's remove the judgment. But the judgment, I think, is there because there's a few people that run around and they're just a full-time billboard. So I think just keep in mind, you asked, like, what are the elements of the ideal community? It's allowing yourself to be authentically you. Don't just be your business card. So you are not your logo. Get to know people just beyond what they do. And if you don't make the end goal a sale, I think eventually people will find those authentic connections, and they'll find you when they need access control or whatever the case is. So people are really, the word I kept hearing also at the conference was authenticity. So if we can continue to provide a community where you can be authentically you, the relationships and the sales will naturally form.
Joe, how about you? What are to you the key elements to build community, the best community that brings together all the stakeholders in multifamily?
Yeah, I'm going to expand a little bit on what Tara said. And I'm going to quote one of my heroes, Ted Lasso. Be curious, not judgmental. And I really think I live my life that way. And I really try. And anybody that is associated with me is probably tired of hearing me say that. But I think our world would even be a better place if people were curious and not judgmental, right? And and be humble through the process, right? Like, I wake up every single day wanting to be better than I was yesterday, as as a member of this great industry, as a husband, as a father, as a person. So and that's why I made a point to say earlier the same thing Tara just said about, the word work is in networking. You have to put the work in. And I think too many people have, to Tara's point about being inundated with sales related things, true salespeople are never selling. True salespeople have conversations, create relationships, and they realize that they have a solution to that person's pain point or not. And they're not pushing a hidden agenda just to get numbers. And you have to be comfortable walking away from business too. And, my one reason, just like anybody else in this industry, they got in the industry in the late 90s, early 2000s, is none of us woke up one day and said, let's go into multifamily. We literally fell into it by accident. And when we woke up, we were in this world that we just couldn't get out of. And that's okay. We love it. I have a psychology degree. I got my psychology degree in the mid 90s, and all my friends made fun of me because they got marketing degrees, and a psych degree is worthless. I'll tell you what, not only do I think it's one of the most popular degrees now, but I use it every second of every day, right? Like, people fascinate me. And to be truly successful in this industry, people need to fascinate you. You need to be fascinated by people unconditionally, which means you may not agree with them, but it is discouraging when I see people voice their opinion. And maybe some opinions don't need to be voiced to the world, fine. But if they are, that's that person expressing themselves. No one needs to bash that person, especially in our industry, right? Like, we need to support each other. And anybody that's ever worked for me knows that I'm not a dictator. I believe in transparency. I believe in collaboration, and I agree in radical candor, and that goes with whether somebody works for you, or if Tony calls me and says, dude, I got this great idea. And I'm like, that's the dumbest idea ever. I've never said that to Tony, by the way. I'll just say that. But my point is, he wouldn't get upset. Actually, he'd probably be a little taken back if I said that, but he wouldn't be upset. He'd be like, all right, let me rethink this thing. Because, I even say this, I've sat on many boards. I've sat on VC driven companies with 30 boards because they get a seat, and you have to be comfortable in voicing what you believe in. And some of the best things that happen in our industry is dissension. The best thing that could ever happen is Tony believes one thing, I believe another. We get together, we collaborate, and the right answer is right in the middle, right? Like, we come up with something great. And I think that is part of the problem in our industry. I say this a lot. Operator relationships aren't the only important relationships in our industry. And I tell new salespeople all the time that they need to be focusing 50% of their time on supplier relationships, because, unlike Kevin Bacon, our industry has 2 degrees of separation, not 6. If there's somebody I don't know, I'll call Tara and she knows them. Or, I'll be like, hey, Chris, like, I know you were involved in this part of the world 10 years ago. Do you know anybody that does this or that? And you're like, oh yeah, hold on, let me connect. Like, there is only 2 degrees of separation in our industry, which leads me to the last thing I'm going to say. Don't you dare ever burn any bridges and be that a-hole that nobody wants to talk to, because that will never work. Don't go to an industry event at a bar or somewhere where you're supposed to be meeting people and learning who they are, what makes them tick, and try and be pitching the whole time. This happened 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was an OpTech event, and we were all at the bar. It was in DC, at the National Harbor, where OpTech happens to be this year. And I just overheard this mid-20s salesperson literally walking up to new people saying, hey, I'm Joe. I do this, this, and this, and here, and giving a pitch. And you could just see smoke coming out of everyone's ears that this person was talking to. And I politely walked up to him, because the one person he was talking to was giving me a look of saying, please help me. And I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, I'm sorry to touch you, but I want to give you some good advice. Don't ever come to these events pitching. Come to these events to know the people that you're interacting with on a daily basis. And I think that the industry can learn a lot about that right now, especially when it comes to the automations. And, there's too much laziness in sales right now in our industry. People write an email and they push a button and it goes to 1,000 people and they pat themselves on the back, but it's disingenuous. All my operator friends are like, what the heck? I have 300 emails a day going up to NAA. None of it's thoughtful. It's a waste of time, right? So I don't even allow any of that sequencing, when it comes to, yes, marketing. Yes, you can send marketing emails out. From a sales perspective, you shouldn't be doing that, because at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing our industry needs to realize on both sides of the fence, operator and supplier, is we're all salespeople in this industry. Tony's a salesperson, Adrian's a sale, everyone, because operators are selling to consumers to rent apartments from them, and we are selling products to the operators to make it easier for them to do that, bottom line. So I think once people realize that, and realize that we truly are salespeople, that no matter where you sit in this industry, I don't care if you're a CEO of an operator, or a salesperson for a supplier, we're all selling. So
I actually love your sales approach, Joe. I've been very adamant about recruiting being sales, but when you think about it, whether it's your personal brand, your job, you're always selling. It's just, what's the best way to do it? Now, I want to go back and ask you about your playbooks. Who's in your playbook? Just open up the playbook for us and share with us who are the people that you're collaborating closely within the community. So I'm going to ask you to drop some names, and I'm going back to Tony. Tony, who are some key people that you collaborate with in the multifamily space, and how do they contribute to your to your success, to your career?
Oh man, I predicated my whole career on not dropping names. Now I'm live to drop names. Listen, I mean, we obviously know the folks on this call. I think most of us are in offline text message with one another, or direct message in some way, some fashion, asking questions, learning about from technologies to communities, to kind of where the industry is going. I mean, there's, for me, obviously, there's a lot of folks, and they're not always the most well-known folks. And so that's why I'm a little hesitant to kind of put them out there in some ways. But, obviously, some folks that aren't on the call here, our good friend, Mike Wolver is out there in the tech space doing great things. And I think he also embodies a lot of what we talk about here. My good buddy Moshe Crane over there on the East Coast, shout out to him. He's always thinking of harebrained ideas and great ideas, and he's a fun collaboration as well. Those are a couple of guys there that and then for me, listen, there's content creators, there's media people. I need to generate my inspiration from some of the work that they do, because of what I do for a living in regards to telling stories and messaging and building community, engagement, attention, all of those sorts of things. So, I like to spend time with, our team internally, but also just kind of those on the recruiting side, just to kind of see, what's happening in the marketplace, how are people enticed to different messages. I'm really excited about this upcoming community, and it's so, I feel so privileged to be on this call with so many smart people, many of which have been in this business longer than I have as well. And I think just this culture of authenticity, people talk about it all the time. Let me just say that to live this is a whole different level. To live authentically and frankly vulnerable in your thoughts, what you believe. It's largely what keeps people out of community, specifically public communities, because they are afraid to tell people what they really think. And this is where I think this platform has an opportunity to ask those questions with full transparency, and also to provide opinions of what you think in a way that hopefully feels, like I said before, safe. So, I tell everybody, and everybody on this call really knows this, collaboration is happening at the highest levels every single day. And it's not always specifically business collaboration, it's thought collaboration, thought leadership collaboration. Obviously, there's a lot of business transactions and business collaboration that's happening too, but there's just so much collaboration happening. And I think Joe really touched on a great point in regards to, just doing it with no ill intent, with no sort of strong sales approach here. Let's just build these relationships. Let's find a way to give value to one another and give value to a community. I think all of us sort of live that life. And for some on the sales side, that Listen, there's a sales book, right? There's a sales 101 book that we hear about, and it's largely predicated on volume of effort, right? Volume of email blast or volume of calls, and you're bound to win the percentage game, right? I think that's an old playbook. I think the new playbook is being deliberate and intentional with who you're trying to build a relationship with in the most authentic way. And I'm confident that this community, under your leadership, Adrian, and of course with the panel here, will guard the culture of that community to make sure that is the ethos, and those are the foundational principles of this community. Because if it is, this community will be wildly successful, because there's incredible tech solutions, products, and phenomenal leaders on both supplier and operator side that need to learn more about each other and learn more about each other's product to figure out how to make the lives of residents, make these assets even more profitable for owners as well. So it's an exciting time ahead. So I don't know if I gave you all the juice there, Adrian, but I gave you enough.
You tiptoed around that awesomely, Tony. Good job.
I agree.
It's my old media PR days, guys.
Let's see how the rest of you all do. Savannah, you're next. Who are your key collaborators?
Called out. All right. I have a similar mindset of Tony of, maybe I am a wildly inclusive person and I want to include everyone. And so I get really nervous when I need to call people out, because immediately I'm going to get off this call and be like, I should have mentioned this person. I should have mentioned this person. I hope. So I have a problem with name dropping also, but I will say that while Tony was talking, I was thinking, how the heck am I going to answer this question? And I will say that I think one of the things that needs to happen to break down the walls, I think insecurity is something that festers and builds ego and builds imposter syndrome and causes people to be inauthentic. And I think in our industry specifically, there are so many alternate growth paths that people take to get where they are that they feel insecure about, and they shouldn't. There's a thousand ways you can get to where you're going, and you got there because you worked hard, because you brought things to the table that were unique, that were you, and you should be proud of where you're at. And I think being able to share those, having advocates and having sponsors who are bringing vulnerable stories to the table and being vulnerable with the community helps allow people to feel comfortable bringing their vulnerability. So I am going to call out one person in that regard. Vanessa Grayson is a friend of mine. She works at a company I worked with before, and she posted on LinkedIn just this week a video of her saying, about her insecurities of her potential and her growth. And I think that type of content, having people who are willing to put that type of content out in a community like this, will encourage people to say, it's okay to have the path that I have. It's okay to be where I'm at. I should feel secure and supported by the community around me in my position and where I'm at. So I will call her out. And she is amazing human. She does her podcast. She does a great podcast. And I have 1,000 other people I could call out, but that's my purpose of calling her out.
How about you, Tara?
She's
Savannah,
totally
I'm gonna piggyback. Wait, can you hear me?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, you were frozen for a second in a funny way. So
Oh.
I didn't know if you were there.
Always.
She freezes at the right time.
Always. Savannah, I want to just underscore what you said about Vanessa, because she has been part of my group for a long time, and she was coming up with content to present to the group, and she was so vulnerable, and it was one of the most popular sessions that we've done. So I want to just say she's fantastic as well. But just you want me to name some people as well, but I have to say that every single time a new member joins the mentor group, I want to name drop, because I have so much to learn, And I love the community is so diverse. And to know people beyond their faith. So the things I'm intentional about is to be a resource, to send a card, to be a human being, and to ask them again, how can I help? How can I be a resource for them? And then eventually, you know, I can name drop them in the future. But I do want to say there's some folks on this very panel who have always had my back. Out for a second, we were at TAA and you made a specific point to just ask me how I was mentally, because you knew like all the things I was juggling, and that was before my husband had the heart attack later that evening. But checking, so like Joe's done this, Adrian's done this, Chris has done this, like checking on the person, not Tara with whatever company I'm associated with, but that's where I think we're missing, is that vulnerable humanity that we're all kind of dancing around and touching on, is just being like, yeah.
I think we're losing the connection out there, Tara. Sean, same question for you.
Yeah,
Who are your top collaborators? Share with us some names. Drop some names.
I think it's a good question, and I think I'm gonna have to follow suit with just about everybody so far. But I will say, you know, in terms of just key collaborators, obviously we're a maintenance product, so we're obviously associating ourselves in a big way with the maintenance leaders in the industry, and relying heavily on them and leaning on them for advice, support, community, and everything that, you know, obviously all the benefits that we get within a community. But I think another big group of people that we lean on, and I would say that they're key, more than key, to our success, and we lean on them in many different ways. But that's obviously our clients, and just listening to them, working closely with them. And I'm not going to start name dropping all the incredible individuals who we work closely with within our clients to, you know, on that front. But I think that's, you know, in terms of the key people that we work closely with, you know, I would say more generally are, again, some of the maintenance leaders in the space. And then, you know, on a more specific level, just working very closely with our clients. And I think that's been key in our success so far.
Your turn, Joe.
Look, I'll start by saying the most successful people in this industry never name drop. I'll say that first. But look, quite honestly, I can name hundreds of people that I feel have helped me in my career and vice versa. It creates those lifelong friendships, like Tara said. Hey, what's going on with this? You know, what's going on with that? How are you doing? I haven't heard from you in a little bit. You know, those kind of things. Look, like I said earlier, I can name hundreds of people on the supplier side, but I also I kind of said this a little bit earlier, but you know, I've been around a long time. I'm almost 50 years old. I don't want to be grinding every single day, right? So I'm trying to slowly be selective in how I'm doing things, and part of that means I always make myself available, you know, and I think everybody has to remember, when they don't give people the time of day, that they started from square one at one point in their career as well. So I am going to drop two names because I know they won't care, and if they do, it's fine. But they are, one is on the supplier side, Sherry Perna Raymond. Sherry Perna Raymond, or Sherry Raymond. I always call her Sherry Perna, but she's been married for like 20 years now. She was my first boss in the industry. Like I said, I stumbled in the industry by bumping into a friend I was in retail with in an elevator. So you're talking about a millisecond of a chance meeting. That's how I'm in multifamily. Ran into her in the elevator. She said, "What are you doing?" You know, I'm like, "I'm working for this retail company now." She's like, "Great." 2 days later, I got a phone call asking to interview in an advertising firm in our space in you know, in 99. And you know, Sherry, it was a time that sales were different. Relationship was everything. We were required to visit every property every month, and we had to fax things to them. It was great. But she taught me the work ethic and the approach to take. Nowadays, when I really need hardcore advice, I call Girish Kahani, who is the COO and founder of Trilogy Real Estate out of Chicago. Girish is actually a few years younger than me, because I'm going to make something very clear. Age and title do not matter, in my opinion. I don't care about titles. Anybody that's ever worked for me knows I believe in flat org leadership, and a CEO should be pushing a broom alongside of a janitor if something spilled on the floor. But my point is, don't care about age, don't care about title, and don't care about what side of the industry they're on. Find your own mentor. Find someone that gives you the sound advice you need when you really need it, and that you can really trust. Devin Wirt, him and I become really great friends. The past 8 or 9 years, we sit on 2 or 3 boards together. We founded a company together called Connexus. So, thank you, Lisa. Lisa and I have been friends for like 25 years. She's amazing as well. But, you have to always be there for an ear. And my biggest problem is I try and make time for everybody, and that's a maddening thing. So unfortunately, I have to tell people, hey, during the day, you got to text me first. I'm always on the phone or in meetings, or like I do have certain stipulations that I'm like, if you call me on the fly Monday through Friday, it's very rare you're just going to happen to catch me on that I'm available. So, but I am always available. And that's my advice to everyone is don't ever have an ego big enough to where you think you're the one that knows everything in the industry. Because when that happens, you need to retire or move to another industry.
Tara, I want to give you the opportunity to finish, because you got cut off by the reception, the signal out there.
Thank you. I will just say, Joe, I can underscore what you've said. And someone asked, or Barbara Savona asked you when we were on that podcast, what if you don't have time for a mentor? And Joe's philosophy is you make time. So I think that if we can all just carry through with that philosophy, set some boundaries, of course, to make sure that you're not under promising, or how does that go? Over promising, under deliver. But anyway, no, I think just the 3 people I want to name drop, honestly, are my mentors, if that's okay. So one just passed away in December. He was not in the industry, but I carry so much of what he taught me every day. But 2 people in the industry who took a chance on me. Diana Petro, she's the president of RMK Management in Chicago. She taught me how to speak up in a boardroom. And as a female back in the 90s, that was not really as popular. So I'm always giving kudos to especially industry women who give other women support and not judgment, because prop tech especially can be a little intimidating, and so can mentorship. So, and I'll also call out Robert Turnbull. He's the founder of BetterBot and was the first person to take me from the property management side when I thought I was going to lose my you-know-what. And he's like, don't leave the industry. I'm going to give you a chance as a supplier, and I haven't looked back. So mentorship is obviously a huge passion of mine, and I think it has saved a lot of people. And Tony, you brought up safety. I'm just, if we can just continue to create spaces that allow people to feel safe to be authentically themselves. You don't have to name the community. It just be a resource. And I think we all have a responsibility, if we've been in the industry, to find those people who are a little overwhelmed with networking and help them. Be their wingman. I think it's important. We have an obligation to do that. And it's something I always look for, the person that's kind of tucked in the corner, who looks overwhelmed, because this industry, we're all very type A out there people, and that's a lot for people. So go find the wallflowers and help them. So, but thank you.
In closing for today, since we're up on time for a conversation, Savannah, Sean, Tara, Tony, Joe, and Chris, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your thoughts, for support. It means a lot for us at the very beginning. We're just getting started. I just wanted to say to everybody here on a panel and in the audience as we wrap up, please go to your app store, look for the PropTechBuzz app, download it, sign up and join us on a multifamily community. We're gonna have great events. Chris and I are going to start within a couple of weeks. We will be starting office hours where we make ourselves available to anyone that wants to network that otherwise can't get a hold of us due to scheduling conflicts and stuff. So we're gonna dedicate our time to to be a help for the community, and we're looking forward for all of you to to join us and build an amazing community for all of us to benefit from. Thank you all.
Thanks, Adrian. Bye,
Bye, guys.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Adrian, thank you, Adrian. It's great seeing everybody.
Bye.